Welcome back to K Now What? And if this is your first time visiting our channel, welcome. We're really glad you found us. Pretty much without exception, every time we get off the plane or go to a new city, it's Kathy's new favorite.
There's been some exceptions.
Yeah, not very many though. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to challenge Kathy to come up with her absolute best, most favorite city in Mexico and Central America. We've been spending the last 3 years living and traveling around those areas, and I've heard Kathy say that, yes, this one's my favorite so many times that I think today is the day she has to really come up with the one absolute most favorite.
Oh, this is going to be so hard. Okay, so let's set out some criteria, because there's so many reasons for a place to be my favorite, but at least I can pick the top reasons. I think I can do that. First of all, like Scott said, when we step off the plane or enter into a new city, yes, I do have somewhat of an immediate sense. Not just this is my new favorite, but I could live here.
I've heard that a lot.
Yeah. So that's one of my criteria. It's just that very first impression. What is that immediate sense of a place? But then when it comes down to other factors, it has a lot to do with the people. Food. We like to taste new food, so that's a big,
I'm all about the food.
A big piece of it. Culture is really important as well. Experiencing new cultures, and that's just some of the best education for me. And so rewarding. Then of course there's. Am I picking too many? there's
You're just making it harder on yourself.
The architecture in a place. I appreciate that. I couldn't tell you what styles there are, but I can just tell you what I love.
I think there's pirate and non-pirate.
I like all the pirate places. Okay, then some things that we can touch on as well is things that I think people would find important or relevant when choosing a place to travel to would be basically the cost of living or cost of amenities and things to do. And what are the things to do in the area? Transportation is probably important for people. Landscape, weather. Maybe we'll touch on those things. I don't know.
That's a big list of criteria.
Those things aren't that's not what I choose it for.
Okay, can you recap what your criteria are?
People.
Food.
Food. Well, the first impression. The very first impression.
Okay, we're starting again?
Yeah.
So, first impression?
Yeah. People. Food. Culture. Architecture.
And architecture. 5 criteria. Okay.
Do other people care about those things?
We'll find out, I guess. Let us know. Do you care about this stuff?
Okay. So, now what? I'll tell you. This is going to be so hard. I'll tell you the place that I first said, oh, I could live here. That was Mérida. No, it wasn't.
No.
Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Jeez, I forgot about that. All right.
So what we're talking about now is you've got a large list of cities in Mexico and Central America, and you've narrowed it down to contenders.
Yep.
And that's what you're talking about.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Contenders. Okay, Mérida, Mexico. The first place I really, really felt for sure, for certain, that I could live there was Mérida, Mexico.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm sticking with that. So, I highly recommend going to Mérida, Mexico. The central area is one of my most favorite. Yeah, I know, I'm going to say this a lot. Oh, I just love it. I'm in love with it. Jeez, and I'm even going to cry thinking about how much I love it. All right, Mérida. Let's just go with that. That is one of the first that I felt I could live. Definitely one of my favorite cities. Definitely. No question. I'll tell you why in a minute.
Okay.
Another one is Antigua, Guatemala. And again, I'm going to cry. I absolutely love Antigua. I could live there. I could definitely go there for a long time. Okay. And another one of my top favorites is Panama City, but specifically Casco Viejo in Panama City. I could live in all of those.
So let's talk about the first criteria.
Mérida, as soon as we got there, I said I could live there. Immediately.
Just out of the airport.
Yeah, in the taxi, driving to our place. It's like, I did. Oh, I could live here. Okay. And yeah, deeper into the central part. Yeah. Oh, I definitely could live here. Antigua, there's such a charm. Yeah, I felt an immediate... Well, I definitely wanted to spend more time there.
Yeah,
and I do want to go back there, 100%. And Panama City, there's such a electric feel there. When we got into Casco Viejo, I was in love. So for which one wins on my Mérida? First impression, Mérida.
That was quick.
Well, I could tell you my feeling. It was initial, yes, Mérida. Okay.
I was just going to say about Casco Viejo that out of the three contenders, Mérida, Antigua, Casco Viejo is probably the most, I want to say multicultural in a way, or
cosmopolitan.
Yeah, there's an influence of several cultures in Panama City. It largely has to do with the building of the Panama Canal and people that came, generations ago, people that came to build the canal. That's impacted the community and the culture.
It's definitely a multicultural.
And that's, for me, that was pretty cool.
Yes, yes, absolutely. A huge melting pot that way.
See that blend of cultures.
Yeah. In Casco Viejo, specifically, it's very culturally rich. We saw some local dance performances. Oh, that was so amazing.
Those guys went on forever. Yeah. Holy smokes, in the hot sun.
Yeah. When we're talking culture, though, there was definitely historical, cultural events in Panama City. But where I felt, I was going to say where I felt the most traditional culture being expressed, I was going to say Antigua. But then I got to remember Mérida. Like, look at, there's such a pride in their heritage, in their culture.
The Maya heritage?
Yeah, well, in Mexico.
Yeah.
And I can't pick for that one. I love the festivities that always happen in Mexico. Seems every time we go to Mexico, Mérida in particular, there's some party going on, which I love. It's just very full of life. Celebration.
So my impressions when it comes to the culture in Mérida is there's definitely a sense of pride amongst the people there. It's a bit of a knock upside my head because we had a lot of people in the central plaza approach us, and I think I was in a certain mode where I felt like, they're just trying to sell us something. Coming from that perspective, I was a little bit standoffish.
You were reserved, for sure.
Reserved is the word, yeah.
Yeah.
And Initially, but then really quickly, we realized that these are people that are enthusiastic about sharing their culture with us, and they wanted to talk about their beautiful city, and they also wanted to practice their English. And so it was, like I said, a little bit of a a slap upside my head.
Yeah, come on, Scott. Come on.
And that's one area where I think Kathy's a bit of a better person than I am. I tend to go into things a little bit suspiciously, but that was a lesson for me. And I remember his name is Jorge, and he gave us a very detailed tour and explanation of some of the beautiful architecture around that central plaza, and give us a brief history lesson on Mérida and the Yucatan as well. And so there's that element of pride in their culture that I really appreciated. And then the other experience that stands out for me in Mérida is the Maya Cultural Center, where they display a lot of handmade crafts and arts, and there's really a lot of pride. Basically, just exudes from that place. It was really interesting to wander through there. So those for me are two real strong points about Mérida.
Now, how about the comparison though with Antigua? Because didn't you see the same but different there?
Yeah, it was. And so in Antigua, we were there for a shorter period.
Yeah.
No. So in all fairness, we didn't have an opportunity to interact as much with locals, which is something that we both really like to do. And so I think we missed out maybe a little bit on that aspect. But having said that, there's certainly in Antigua, but Guatemala in general, there's certainly a lot of pride in traditional craftsmanship. And the one thing that I really admired is, quite often in touristy locations, there's markets, and we've been through tons of them. There's markets that sell tourist quality souvenirs, and I think you might know what I mean by that. If you turn them over, some of them are made elsewhere, mass produced. In Guatemala, it was really evident that there's a pride in the cultural nature of their craftsmanship, and so that's something that really stood out for me there as well. How about you?
Well, yeah, and the sharing the stories of their history with such pride, that was very heartwarming, very touching. I fell in love. I could just keep saying I fell in love. Okay, so culturally, I think they all offer some richness in culture. So can't go wrong. And I'm not going to pick based on culture.
You just said you were going to.
Not based on culture. No.
Alone.
No.
But it's going to have to be a factor. Or does everybody get fair marks? Okay, let's do this.
No,
out of 5 on culture.
No, they're all. No,
measure this.
Don't even. So
we could all have 5.
Yeah. So moving on to people, though. This is part of my favorite. It's people. Part of my favorite. This whole thing is about my favorites.
Yeah. Neither Kathy or I like to make generalities about people.
No.
These are our observations and
from our experience.
Our experiences.
Yeah. Now I'm going to speak about the people that we met in the country in general, but that applies obviously to the cities that we went to in each of these countries. In Mexico, I just love Mexicans. So Mérida, there's such a fun-loving, jokey sense. I have so much fun in Mexico.
Yep.
Love it. In Panama, there was a little bit more of a seriousness when they got to know you a little bit. Then there was a subtle humor.
Very subtle.
Yeah, very subtle humor.
It took a while to come out.
But a genuine kindness.
Yeah.
Very kind. Yeah. And then in Guatemala, so sweet. So sweet. Oh. Very humble. A little bit impish. Like the joking is again sweet.
It's very subtle humor. And not so subtle at times.
Yeah, not so subtle.
We were laughed at in Guatemala because of our lame attempt to speak Spanish, and I could just imagine what our clunky accent sounds like.
Yeah.
So it was actually quite cute to be laughed at.
Yeah, not offensive at all. No, we get it.
But I do want to say about the people we met in Mérida and Mexico in general is, I would say there's an impishness there.
Yes.
There's a jovial teasing that happens.
Teasing for sure. Yeah.
And it's all good natured. At least that's how I'm going to take it.
Yeah, me too. I just have so much fun. Quite frankly, I have had such great experiences with people everywhere that we've gone. There's just certain qualities that have stood out, but that we've just mentioned, of all of those cities and the countries in general. They've all been beautiful.
Yeah. So I would say, yes, there's degrees of warmth. Mm-hmm. That's how I describe it amongst the people that we've met. And from now, I'm going to do it. Okay. I would say they're all really welcoming. But if you really, hold me to it and make me choose, I would rank it probably as Guatemala having the most sincerity and warmth.
Welcoming. Yes. Yes.
Mexico's very close behind. And then Panama's very close behind that. Like, I'm talking human hair. Yeah, very hard to choose. But good for you for doing so. I would say that, but I don't think you can go wrong. But this isn't about what I think.
No. Yeah. Anyway, you can. I think you can expect to be welcomed in every one of those cities by the locals. Yeah. Okay.
You didn't pick one.
I love them all. Do you know how many cities I have not put on the list? Which was hard.
No, I know.
So just give me that. Top 3. There we go. Architecture. You can speak to this because you can describe it better. I love it. The architecture in Centro Mérida, in the Casco Viejo area of Panama City, and the central area of Antigua. Oh, it's so beautiful. Okay, talk. share what it's about.
Holy smokes. Okay, so in Casco Viejo, Panama, what we experienced were a lot of, all 3 of these cities had a significant Spanish European influence in the architecture. What we experienced in Panama City, in Casco Viejo, it took me back to older movies.
Oh, yeah?
With the guys in the Panama hats and the big stogie cigars, sitting in hotel rooms with, the ceiling fan going and the linen drapes blowing in. And we actually experienced, we stayed in a place like that. And so there's a bit of nostalgia there for me. And so there was a lot of, hotel style buildings, 2-3 stories typically, and apartment style in Casco Viejo. Mm-hmm. Very elaborate decor, colorful, which really appreciated. As I mentioned previously, it's a UNESCO heritage site, World Heritage Site. So there's been a lot of restoration that's taken place there, which has resulted in vibrant colors, ornate buildings, and
such detail. Yeah,
and I really appreciate the love and attention that's gone into that part of the city. Then I'll just go north, go to Antigua, Guatemala. The architecture in Antigua, which happens to be a UNESCO World Heritage Site as well. So there's a lot of restoration that's taking place there. I would say there's a bit more of a rustic feel.
Yeah, a little bit more simple as opposed to being so ornate. Than still lots of detail though. Yeah.
Lots of detail, lots of color. All 3 of these cities are very colorful. That's where you begin to see buildings with courtyards, central courtyards. Courtyards are really amazing. Central gardens, and they're fun places to explore. We did a bit of that in Antigua by poking into certain restaurants and buildings that had shops within courtyards a bit of an adventure to look around those buildings. And then I'd say that the streets themselves, the cobblestones in Antigua, you might even want to wear hiking shoes. And then that takes us to Mérida, which is, I believe it's not a UNESCO World Heritage Site, but it's certainly undergone a lot of restoration and renovations, and there's a lot of pride in that city as well. And that's where you see a lot of buildings that don't necessarily look all that impressive from the outside, except for maybe a grand door, maybe a window, but they're courtyards. They're buildings that,
Stunning.
that the outside space is a significant part of the living space for families there.
Within the central part of the building, not outside like a yard in the front or the back. Yeah.
And we had the pleasure of staying in a place like this that had a full courtyard with a pool in it, and both bedrooms were what we'd call outside. They were separate structures, or one was a separate structure, the other one you had to go outside and up steps to get to it. Really kind of felt
it was out of this world. It was it was fantastic.
And that's just an example of what many of the homes are like in Mérida.
Yeah.
In all three cities, there's you can imagine the churches and the chapels are cornerstones of the city. The city's built around these buildings. So a lot of investment was made in making them ornate and really grand.
So beautiful.
And
yeah. Okay, so there's some similarities between those three in the style, the architecture, cobblestone streets, and sort of colonial. Well, I don't know. You tell me. Is it colonial architecture?
Kind of Spanish influence, colonial architecture. Yeah.
And all areas had bright colors. I like that. Like the buildings were all very different colors. They also had a central area in the town,
like a plaza or piazza kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's the place I like to hang out. So,
so how would you rank the three of them when it comes to architecture?
Oh no, I was going to say Mérida, and then I got remembering some things in Casco Viejo. I would say for my preference, just my preference would be Mérida, but they're all so close. So there, I ranked one. I picked Mérida for architecture.
This is just your personal taste.
Yeah. And food. Let's talk about food. All of these cities have international cuisine, so you can pretty much get anything anywhere in these cities.
In most of the cities, we spent a significant amount of time. Most of the countries, we spent a significant amount of time. When we do that, it's fun eating local food. It's almost as much fun exploring these countries' interpretation of what...
Oh, international cuisine,
International cuisine.
As far as local food, though, my preference is Mexican. So that's that for me because of the choices, because vegetarian. For local stuff, there's much more flavor in Mexican cuisine for me. So Mérida. I did it twice. 2 times.
Mérida.
But as far as international, like what's available in these cities, it's everything in all three cities. And there's gourmet, really high end, and there's also street food. Like it ranges. And that was in all three cities.
Yep.
So you have your choice, your pick of what you'd like to eat. And was there anything that we ate that we didn't love? Like when I couldn't have options, there was chips and salsa or fries.
French fries.
Yeah.
They're worldwide, yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not going to rate those, but I think, it's good food all over the place.
And I have a bit of a broader palate than Kathy. Or scope of food that I like to eat. I would say that Antigua, for me, edges out a little bit ahead. Be in the kind of the gourmet style of food. We had some excellent meals there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had some really good good meals that were done to, like, I'd say world class.
Okay. Beef. You had beef in every place.
Oh, yeah.
You talked about the quality of the steaks in each place.
Yeah.
So what was your favorite?
Oh, boy. None of them.
Yeah.
I'd say the best steak I had was in Boquete, but
Well, it's Panama, at least.
Panama.
Yeah. Scott did mention almost every time he ate steak how different it was from Canada. The quality was so much better, and in all of them, all of the places.
yeah, well, and large part of that is because the food is like farm to table.
Yeah.
In most cases. Yeah.
Yeah. Some things that may be important to travelers that we can touch on are costs. Now, we're not going to give specific costs, but because that fluctuates depending on when you see this. But at our time of visiting, between 2021 and 2024, the rate of expense, I guess, the lowest was Mérida. Then next up would be Antigua, and then the most expensive would be Panama City. And that goes for short-term rentals, as well as restaurant food, as well as transportation, and any like tours or things like that you might want to do, excursions. Speaking of excursions, some of the things that you can do in these different areas. So Panama City, of course, if you're there, you must go see the Panama Canal. I mean, I honestly didn't really care if we went, but I am so glad we did. It would have felt after the fact like we missed out, like we really should have done that. And I was so much more impressed with it than I thought I would be. So that says something.
I'm going to throw something in with that. If you're a museum type of person, and maybe even if you're not, I really recommend going to the Panama Canal Museum, downtown Casco Viejo, before you go to the Panama Canal, because you get a different perspective on many things.
It's quite eye-opening, actually.
So
Humbling
you get the whole
too.
story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
More of the story,
Yeah,
anyways.
that's right. Yeah.
In Panama City, there is shopping galore. In Casco Viejo, you see boutiques and specialty shops and jewelry stores and hat stores, and like it's
the Panama hats.
yeah. And there's like an entrepreneurial pride in Panama City. It's pretty cool to see. So there's definitely shopping. It's many different cultural things, but some highlights near Mérida. Of course, the central area, Centro, is amazing. Paseo de Montejo is a street that has old mansions.
I forgot all about those when I was talking about the architecture.
But the mansions that they've been converted into different things like restaurants and hotels,
and museums and
boutiques as well.
Some of them have been restored as homes as well.
Yeah. So that's kind of fascinating to see. But also the proximity to Mayan heritage sites. Amazing.
Zibo Chaltun.
Cebu Chaltun. Good job. I don't think I said it right, but anyway, were you saying that in your head over and over?
Well, I didn't hear anything you just said for the last 5 minutes.
But Chichen Itza, of course, it's not that far from there. A few hours drive. Like I said, the festivities in Mexico where they're always happening. I don't know, there's fireworks or parades or music in the street, or like it's just something is always happening. That's fun for me.
Yeah. Oh, and you're about half an hour away from the Gulf of Mexico. Mm-hmm. So if you need beach time, it's really just a quick
beaches.
drive.
Beautiful beaches.
Yeah. White sand. Yeah.
And in Antigua, some of the things you could do, there are actually ruins in the city. So historic ruins. There's museums for sure. Arts and artisans and cultural crafts that you can explore, as well as things like volcano hikes. We didn't do that, but sure.
Seen one volcano, you've seen them all.
No, but those are some things that you can do if you like different interests. I definitely recommend in Casco Viejo, Panama City. There's shopping. In Mérida, there's the proximity to Mayan sites, and in Antigua, there's the cultural artisans and crafts and volcanic hikes just to name a few. They all have much more to do than that.
When it comes to money, I'm assuming everyone's familiar with the Mexican peso. In Guatemala, you're dealing with quetzals, and there are kind of significant mental translations you have to do between your home currency and both of those currencies. In Panama, they use the American dollar, and their change is slightly different. It's a Balboa, but it's very much similar.
It looks like American coin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's certainly an ease of use when shopping in
For
Panama,
sure. Yeah. Not a lot of translation that way.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it mentally. You can pull out your little app and use, Anyway, transportation wise, well, actually, Panama City is an international airport that accommodates, like it's a stopover place for a lot of flights to South America from North America and
it really is
Europe. And it is a hub. So easy to get to Panama City. Antigua, I don't know if there's anything closer than Guatemala City,
I think. Yeah.
And that's several hours away. But the drive is beautiful.
Yep.
It's just gorgeous through the mountains. Oh,
yeah.
And Mérida is easy to get to as well. There's an airport in Mérida. So, I mean, you can fly to Cancun and drive over, or you can...
which is 4 hours, or you can
fly right into Mérida.
Yeah, it's an international airport. And in all three of the those areas, the infrastructure, the streets are quite good.
Yeah, within the cities themselves, there's all of them have great transportation. Like whatever you're looking for, if it's taxi or rental cars or bikes or really anything.
Yeah.
We had a great encounter in Antigua, looking for a shuttle to take us to the Guatemala City airport in a small little tour shop. They were the best. They were so good and recommending when we should leave and what route we should go, and they were so accommodating, really, really friendly. Very much appreciated their service. So as far as landscape, it's vastly different for the three areas. Panama City, you're right on the water.
It's actually like a little peninsula. You're surrounded three sides by water, and there's is it called a viaduct or an aqueduct? The road that goes around the outside.
Yeah, there's a road that goes around the outside of it that goes out into the water. It's pretty cool.
Kind of cool. Yeah. Point is, you're surrounded by water on three sides. Yeah.
Panama City is close to the water. Mérida is in very flat land, inland, and it gets really hot. Really hot.
Yeah.
Especially within the city where the buildings are, and there's no
the heat. Yeah. It can get pretty stifling. And I don't call a lot of breeze, so it's a lot of still air.
No, it was just still. It was very hot. Still worth going though. And Antigua is up in the mountains, in volcanoes. I mean, the beautiful volcanoes.
Probably the coolest city.
Oh, for sure.
I mean coolest temperature-wise. Let's keep this in perspective. What I mean by cool is about 25 degrees Celsius, and whatever that is in Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
So still quite warm, but cooler than...
Compared to Mérida, what would that have been when we were there? Like
I think it was 32 degrees, if not a little bit more.
Oh, no, it would have been more. Come on.
If not a little bit more.
Oh, it was more. It was hot. It was really, really hot. And Panama City, it also got very hot, too.
And quite humid because of proximity to the water.
But all very manageable.
Yep.
Some of the cities that I've also said that I could easily live, that were my new favorites, they definitely get honorable mention for a lot of the same reasons why I've talked about these other ones. It's so hard to pick. But some of them are Puerto Vallarta, Mexico.
Old Town,
yeah. The romantic zone. And, the San Jose in Costa Rica, but specifically the Escalante area. I love that area, specifically for food. There's some really great food there. Another city in Costa Rica that I really liked was Cartago. Now, I didn't say when we got there that I could live there, but I did say, oh, this is one of my new favorites. But I said one of my new favorites, so not the new favorite. So another one is Nicaragua, Granada in Nicaragua.
Talk about tradition in Nicaragua.
And pride.
Yes.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
so much pride.
Yeah, that sense of pride in the community is, really rings throughout the city, and you have to really admire that.
So one that so close to me making my list, my favorite was Campeche in Mexico, and it didn't make the list because we really didn't spend enough time there to really know, but it was one where as soon as we got there, it's like, oh, I could live here.
Coincidentally, it's another UNESCO World Heritage Site, the Old Town area. Okay, so there you go. There's all the details. All the details of the top 3 contenders.
Yeah.
Which one is the best city that we've visited in Mexico and Central America, according to Kathy?
Okay, so overall, I think all 3 cities are worth visiting. And for me, I could easily see myself living in Mérida. I think it feels like home already to me, but that doesn't mean that I love it best. I think they're all amazing. I would gladly spend several months in Casco Viejo. Say if we were gonna be going to South America, like from North America as a stopover, but I'd stay there for a long time. I would do that.
Okay, yeah.
When we were there, I was looking for apartments to buy. But now that we're out of there, maybe we don't need to
buy.
Yeah, I could live there. When we were there, I was thinking, I could live here. I feel now that I would go back and spend some long time there, really getting to know the place, but maybe not live there. I have to go back to Antigua. Mm-hmm. There's just so much more to explore there, and I know that I love it. It just felt so... it was so good. So it was, I don't know if I can choose. Honestly, I could easily live in Mérida. Okay, just don't make me choose. Well, I can change my mind.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
okay, so right now, today, I would say Mérida.
Today. Okay.
Mérida is my favorite. No, I can't even say Mérida is a place I could very easily live. Let's just say that.
There you have it, a political answer from Kathy, who can't make a decision.
Well, I love them all. Come on, like I said, I narrowed it down to 3.
Yeah, that was a challenge for you. It was.
Yeah.
So, ties across the board.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Recommend all of them.
Yes.
I think if you chose to go to Mexico or Central America, and if you chose one of those cities, you would enjoy it.
Yeah, I agree. I'd be hard-pressed to pick myself.
Okay, so there's some information that hopefully you can use to make your decision of where you'd like to go next in Central America or Mexico. I think you'll enjoy all of them. So tell us your favorite city in those areas, and maybe we can check them out too.
Or maybe not even in those areas. Anywhere, because we're always looking for ideas where we'd like to go next.
Yeah, that too. Also, another place in Costa Rica, a city that I really liked was Cartago. You're looking at me like you don't remember. Where are we?
Oh yeah, Cartago. Okay. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you like this video, you might like this video. And if you really feel like doing a binge, here's a playlist for you to watch.